We are going to have a webinar on career opportunities in media. This webinar is in collaboration with Delhi Metropolitan Education. So not taking much of your time, I would request Honorable Ma'am Principal of the school, Mrs. Sunita Madan, to welcome the guests.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Shalini Gautam for making arrangement for such webinars. Last webinar was also arranged with her help on CLAT, and now on media she has arranged. I'm also thankful to Dr. Ambrish. I welcome all the team members of Delhi Metropolitan Education on this webinar, and I hope that the students will not only learn about various fields available in media, but they will get exposure to the variety of fields unexplored by them. And Dr. Ambrish will definitely help the students to find out the goals in the students, and the students will be able to find out different fields they can enter in media, not only in the print media, digital media, TV. There are so many opportunities available in media, and I hope with the help of this webinar, we all will learn a lot from Dr. Ambrish. Thank you and welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And now I would hand it over to Rimzi ma'am. Rimzi ma'am, it's
okay. Thank you, Sunita ma'am. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mamta ma'am. Very good morning to all. My name is Rimsi Sood. I am working as a coordinator, student services and admissions at Delhi Metropolitan Education, popularly known as DME. I am here as a host for this webinar. I welcome Sunita Madan ma'am, principal SBP DAV Sanitary Public School, Fatehabad. I welcome you all on behalf of DME for this webinar on career opportunities in media. First of all, let us start with introduction of DME. Delhi Metropolitan Education is a premier educational institute affiliated to Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, Delhi, and approved by Bar Council of India. At DME, we provide first-rate infrastructure with strong academic facilities to render a dynamic grounding for success. The school and academic programs here are DME Law School, BA LLB and BBA LLB Integrated Program, DME Management School, BBA, Bachelor in Business Administration, DME Media School, BAJMC, Bachelor in Journalism and Mass Communication. Today, DME is conducting a webinar in collaboration with SBP DAV Centenary Public School, Fatehabad, on career opportunities in media. Now, I would like to welcome and introduce the speaker of today's webinar, Professor Dr. Ambrish Saxena, Dean DME Media School and Director of DME Studios and Production. Sir is an accomplished media professional, researcher, author, anchor, political analyst, and film enthusiast. Over to you, sir, and welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so since today's session is on opportunities in media, so I mean, since these are the basically, I believe the 11th standard students. So, and though I'm not sure as to what exactly is the level of their exposure as far as the media usage is concerned, but believing that this new generation is exposed to the latest technology and they must be knowing at least the basics as far as the print, digital, radio, television, all this and the films included is concerned. So, firstly, I will try to understand as to when we say media, what does it mean actually, and what we are referring to. So, whenever we say media, in very conventional terms, we are referring to different media platforms which are disseminating contents, be it the newspapers or the radio or the television or the films and the digital platform. Now, there are two things important here. Which I mean, there's a very basic thing which every student must understand In media, there are two things. One is the content, and another is a platform. As I was referring to, platform means the kind of technology, the kind of media platform that is being used for the dissemination of that content. Like if I take example from the print media, whatever is covered by a reporter, I mean any news reporter, or whatever is written by an author, be it in the form of an editorial piece which is on the editorial page of the newspaper, or be it the middle page articles or other kind of news analysis. Basically, the platform is the newspaper or the news magazine, which is in the conventional form, in the sense it's in the printed form, right? This is one option. Another option within the newspaper, as far as the platform is concerned, which I am talking about, the same news stories which would have been covered by a reporter, or any article which would have been written by an author, which is published in a printed copy of a newspaper, the same thing can be made available on the digital platform. So in the case of newspaper, there are two openings as far as the use of the digital media is concerned. One, that the newspaper is available on the web, on the digital form, which we can call the web edition of that newspaper. So the newspaper will remain the same as we find in the printed copy or in the hard copy. So that could be an example of the web newspaper. So same kind of newspaper we can find on the digital platform. Another thing could be wherein the newspaper is presented in the digital form, wherein the news stories and the pages, they keep on changing. Now, when we say newspaper, newspaper is printed once in 24 hours. So the next newspaper, if we would have received a newspaper this morning, the next newspaper will be received the next morning. In between, there is no communication between the newspaper and the reader. But then when we talk about the digital format of that newspaper, there the news stories will be keeping on updated. So every, I mean, few minutes or hours, if there is any update on any story, then the latest story, including all those latest development, like if at 10 o'clock there's a story which has been updated, and within 2 hours or 3 hours, there is some new developments which would have happened in that particular story. Now those updates will be included that story, and a revised story will be uh, po- posted on the digital platform of that newspaper. So this example can also make you understand that nowadays there is a little difference between digital media or any other media platform that I will be talking about, because any conventional media form, any platform, that also has the digital aspect of it. So digital is not something which is a separate thing, which is very much included in all kind of media platforms, in all kind of media formats. So I gave you this example in the case of a newspaper. Now another thing is, another important media platform is radio. Now radio has two aspects basically here. One is the news, another is non-news of the program. Like if we talk about the All India radio channels, not all, but mostly. Like if we refer to All India radio,
Excuse
this
me, sir.
FM.
Sir,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but we're getting certain messages. Voice is little low, sir. Can you increase the volume of your laptop, sir?
Just a minute. Just a minute. From my side, it's 100.
From my side also it is 100, so little it is
Okay,
fine, fine.
I will speak a little loud,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I was giving you example of radio. Now, in the case of radio, as I was telling, that there are two aspects to it. One is the news, and another is non-news or the programs. Right. So, news is broadcast mainly in India by All India Radio, by few of its channels like AIR FM Gold and the primary channels of All India Radio. Others are the channels which mainly are broadcasting the music, whether we, even in All India Radio, whether we name it this Vivid Bharati or the AIR FM Rainbow, though these are all on FM mode of transmission, but then they are not into news, they are into music and entertainment. And if we talk about the private FM radio channels like Radio Mirchi, Radio City, all these private FM channels, they broadcast only the music. So that is how news and entertainment, broadly, these kind of division we do in the case of radio, in the case of television as well. Okay, so now talking about the this digital interface of radio. Now in radio, All India Radio, I give you the example. All India Radio has a website, right? So whatever news is being broadcast, there are different types of news. There are some regular news bulletins, and then there are certain news-based programs, some discussion-based programs, all such kind of news bulletins and news-based programs. They are available on the website of All India Radio. Not only the live programs are available, but also in the archives you can also get the old news bulletins. Like if you want to listen to a news bulletin which was broadcast yesterday, so you can even listen to that. So that's the benefit of having a digital interface, digital platform by any conventional platform, conventional media platform. So radio is a live thing, it's being broadcast live, but then there's a possibility, since there's a digital format of All India Radio, so you can watch, you can listen to the program on that. And then also there's another important thing with the AIR website, that the news bulletins are in the audio form, because radio is an audio medium, but then the bulletins, the text of the bulletin is also available on the website of All India Radio, right? Now, as far as the entertainment program is concerned, obviously, that kind of facility is not there, because it's a live thing. If a song is being played, then obviously on the digital platform, there is no point in making that live or putting that in the archives. But then the programs means there are certain programs. Say, for instance, if I give you an example, if there is an important musician whose interview would have been taken. Now, if that interview has been broadcast live on a channel of radio, that interview can also be put in the archives. So that's the benefit of having the contents on the digital platform. Now, talking about television, I think people might be having, I mean, these students will be having more exposure to television. So like radio, as I explained, television can also be divided between two parts, the news and the entertainment side. So on one hand, we has news channels like Aaj Tak or Z News or Headlines Today. All these channels are there, wherein news is being broadcast. So mind it, news is always live. News, I mean, there can be a case of deferred live, but it's like in the case of radio, it's always, the live programs are always the deferred live, but then they are live. In the case of television, also mostly the news is live. But when we talk about the non-news programs means, if we refer to the channels which are showing only the films, the channels which are showing only the songs, and then also reference can be made to the niche channels, like there are certain television channels which are on sports only, which are on religion and spiritualism only. So So but then in the case of the again news, obviously entertainment may if there is a film which is being shown, that will not be archived and that will not be available on the digital platform because there is a business aspect to it also. But as far as the news is concerned, every news channel has its website. Every news channel has its website wherein the bulletins can be accessed. So, if you watch a particular news bulletin on a particular news channel, and you miss that channel because that broadcast because you are not at home that time or you are busy in some other things. So later on, you want to watch that bulletin. Then you can go to the website of the television channel and you can watch that particular news bulletin. So that's the benefit of having the digital interface of television, right? Besides that, you would have also noticed when we say digital, there are two terms which we very frequently use. The students also might be using these terms. We all do. One, we use the term digital, and another term that we use the social media. So we have to have a difference between the digital and the social in the context in which we are having this discussion, because we are trying to have a better understanding of media, right? So in television also, what happens if for instance we take the example of Z News. Now there's a website wherein you can find the old bulletins and all, but then the news packages and also the news packages are basically like if there is a news bulletin, there are 10 news items. So every news item has a package. So a bulletin is a combination of, for instance, 10 news packages. So every news package will be available on the website, but at the same time, the channel will also post those news packages on Facebook. They can also post those news packages on Twitter. So that's how the social media is being used by a mainstream media, by a conventional media, because all print, radio, television, if we categorize all kind of media, then all these three, print, radio, and television, they are put in the category of conventional media. And this internet, obviously, as we know, it's a new media. So mind it, the kind of combination which we find nowadays between the conventional media and the new media. And in new media also, we have to have a distinction between the digital media, like the website of that news channel, and the content of the news which are being made available on the social media platforms. Nowadays, most of the channels post their news packages on social media, on Facebook and the Twitter. And a lot of times, I mean, even if you are not able to watch a television channel, you can watch the news stories of that channel on the Facebook and also on the Twitter. So this is about television. Now, and talking about digital media as such, there also I must tell you a few important things when we use the term digital media. Now, as far as news is concerned, here also we have to broadly divide the whole thing into two parts. One, the digital interface of the newspapers, of radio channels, of television channels, which I explained you just now. Like a newspaper having a web edition, a radio channel like All India Radio example I gave, having a website wherein all the contents are available, and a television channel having a website wherein all the contents are available. This is one set of example. Another example is wherein an organization, a company decides to have its content only on the digital platform. If a company decides to have its content only on the digital platform, meaning thereby no, there might be a company which has no newspaper, which has no radio channel, which has no television channel, and which is operating only in the digital space. The example of this could be Wire. If some of you know about this, Wire is completely a news, is a digital based news portal. They do not have any other product, only digital. This news portal is there. Wire, like Wire, there are so many other, like the print is again a digital newspaper, either call it, or the digital based news portal, right? So there are, I mean, so many such kind of companies which are operating only in the digital space. Now the benefits or the demerits of such kind of digital product. Now one is that obviously the reach to the people is much easier nowadays if you are operating only in the digital space. And another important benefit is this, that the contents need not to be in one format. Meaning thereby, if there's a story on Wire, it will be in the text form also. It may be in the audio form also. It may be in the video form also. Whereas in the case of print, radio, and television, the format is decided. Format means the nature of the medium is decided. Print means only text, the the printed text. Radio means only the audio. Television means only the video. But if there is a news portal, I mean the news portal which is based on the digital, it can have written stories in the text form. It can have audio stories. It can have video stories. So, so that is how I explained you the print, radio, television, and the digital, right? I may also include the films for your better understanding, because I talked about print, radio, television, and digital. So films are also important as a media platform. Now we all are familiar with the films which we were always watching on the theater screen. But then a change occurred when this satellite broadcasting came, satellite transmission came with the advent of transmitter, with the advent of satellite in 1970s. Then obviously television channels came, like Doordarshan came first. Doordarshan started on the one channel only. Doordarshan started broadcasting the programs which were news and entertainment mix, and then there started few independent entertainment channels of Doordarshan also, and then on the private channels also. So nowadays we find there are so many television channels which are broadcasting, which are telecasting the entertainment program. But then what the internet has done, the internet is in fact the change maker as far as the media is concerned. We all must understand this. So when this internet came, as far as the technology is concerned, if I can give you an idea, there is something came in the market which you would have heard, which was IPTV, which was Internet Protocol Television, right? But not many company came up with that. So that was a substitute to the satellite broadcasting, right? So internet based broadcasting came. But then when this geo came to the market, it was a completely overall complete transformation of the market, wherein if you have a geo connection, then you can have all such kind of channels which earlier you were watching through satellite, through DTH services of the DTH companies. Now all these are available on the internet, right? So there's a big change in radio and television, like because the two things are very important, I must tell you. In understanding media, you must always understand the technology, right? So in the case of television, as I am referring to, so the shift was from the transmitter based broadcasting to satellite based broadcasting to internet-based broadcasting. In between, so many other things happened. I'm not going into that much detail. So what does it mean? That okay, so let me finish this film, then I will come to technology a little bit, much more. Okay, so I was telling you about films. So films were being watched in theaters. Then we started watching the films on our TV screen. But when this lockdown and all these things happened, then we realized that it is much more than that. And even before this COVID-19 and the lockdown started, already there were in the market companies which we call the OTT companies. But then they expanded a lot once this lockdown started in the phase of this COVID-19, right? So all these OTT companies came into being. So it's completely a digital transmission of the entertainment content, which were earlier only in the form of films. Now those contents are diversified. The satellite television had already diversified that from films to soap operas. But now this completely a new avatar of these entertainment programs we notice, which we call the web series. Now these all developments are attributed to internet, to the digital technology that we have at the moment. So right from print, radio, television, and digital media as such, and films, digital is the most important thing. Now, how the digital has played an important role, let me make another attempt to further understand the importance of this. This is important as far as the content generation is concerned, and as far as the content transmission is concerned. There are two parts whenever, whichever medium we are talking about. One is the content generation. Content generation here means writing a news story for print, or preparing a news package for a television channel. This is content generation. Now the contents have been produced, contents have been generated. So then the question arises, how to take those contents to the people? Here we need a technology. Is it clear? One is how to produce the content. There are also technologies required. Obviously, in television, you need the camera, you need the this editing machines and all to produce the content. There also, but then transmission is something which is very crucial. What you can understand this if the contents are produced in a television channel. All good stories are produced, all packages are made, but the channel fails to take those contents to our homes, then we will never be able to appreciate, to watch the contents of that channel. So for that, what the channels need to do earlier for the purpose of transmission, they were they were taking the transponders in the satellite on high. तो सैटेलाइट में दे यूज टू have those transponders जो वो खरीदते थे for that particular service, and then with the help of that they were doing the transmission, and we were watching sitting at our home with the help of DTH, and by taking the services of the DTH companies we were watching those programs. This means what is important? The content generation is important, but then transmission is important. Same, this also applies in the case of the print. There might be very good team in a newspaper, all good reporters, they are doing good reporting, but if the newspaper does not get published, or if the newspaper, even if it is published, it is not properly distributed and circulated, then all efforts will go waste. So this means that technology has always been important, and it is still important, as I gave the example of the films. Films are, again, if technology, you have a good technology at your disposal, good cameras, then the production quality will be will be far better as compared to the earlier technology. Similarly, in the case of OTT, I gave you that example as far as the transmission is concerned. So I again repeat this thing by adding one more thing. One is the content generation, which is important. Two, the distribution of the content. I'm using those particular terms which we used in the field of media. Content generation, then the distribution of those contents, which in a way is the transmission, as I was talking about in the case of the in the case of the television, and in the case of print, obviously in the case of newspaper, that transmission is not actually the transmission is concerned. So we use only the term distribution. So distribution and the transmission, that becomes important for us. So these are the important things as well. And if I can further reinforce on the importance of technology, because all young generation, the students who are there in this session, they have seen the technology right from their birth. But if you look back, you will find the whole growth of media, not only in India, but looking in any part of the world, the growth of media has been completely dependent of technology. I give you a very interesting example which you can easily understand. When the printing technology was not that developed, I'm talking about the 18th and the 19th century, right? For, I mean, since the time the newspapers came to India, officially in 1780. So from that time, for about from 1780 to like 1880, for about 100 years or so, the technology was very primitive. Printing technology means there used to be the small machines, treadle machines as we used to call them, जहाँ पर बहुत धीरे धीरे एक एक शीट की प्रिंटिंग होती थी. Till that time, we had only the weekly newspapers or the monthly. Initially in India, or for that matter in any part of the world, the beginning was made with monthly newspaper, then fortnightly newspapers, then weekly newspapers. Why? Because we did not have the technology with the help of which we could publish the newspapers at a high speed. But when rotary printing machines came, they transformed the newspaper industry, because with the help of those machines, it was possible to print 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 copies within an hour. So if there are 4 hours available at a newspaper, it could publish 1 lakh copies, 2 lakh copies. So bulk printing with a high speed became possible. And with this came daily newspaper, because daily newspaper have very little time for printing. Nowadays, it's a completely changed. Nowadays, we have machines which can print 1 lakh copies in an hour. तो अगर किसी न्यूज़पेपर का 4 लाख या 5 लाख का भी सर्कुलेशन है तो 5 घंटे में 5 लाख कॉपी छाप सकता है. बट देन 200 years back it was not possible. So this is an example to make you understand how technology is important. जब टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं थी, टेलीविजन का एग्जांपल देता हूं. व्हेन वी हैड द ओल्ड टेक्नोलॉजी व्हिच वाज देयर इन 1960s, वी द टेलीविजन स्टार्टेड विद द हेल्प ऑफ द ट्रांसमीटर्स, जो रेडियो में टेक्नोलॉजी इस्तेमाल होती थी. बट देन उसका रीच कम था. बट व्हेन सैटेलाइट केम, there was a completely shift in television broadcasting, and particularly in the decade of 1990, when satellite television came in a big way. The foreign companies came to India, and then we could see the advent till 94, 95. We could see the advent of 24 hours channels, news and entertainment. This became possible when satellite broadcasting technology came into being. So media is all about technology. But now, as a youngster, if you want to enter the media, what all options are available before you? Now, media is one thing which is expanding very fast. Whatever might be the case, whether economic slowdown, no, there might be ups and downs, obviously, which happens in every sector. So during the pandemic, also the print media has got a hit. But then most of the newspapers, they have very fast ventured into the digital. Those who are already into the digital, they strengthened that, and those who are not on the digital side, they came on the digital side, and they are focusing more on digital. And there is an interesting thing among those few countries among those few countries wherein the hard copies of the newspapers were very much in circulation. Otherwise, in most of the developed world of the West, already most of the newspapers, whether we talk about the New York Times or the Washington Post, they print less number of copies as far as the hard copy is concerned, and they are read more in numbers of the readers on their digital platform. So now, in a way, I can say that this whole pandemic has precipitated that shift in India also. So in India also, the digital format of most of the newspapers are available. So this, I mean, while this was a setback of the pandemic, but this good thing happened that during this whole transition period, newspapers had to change to the digital, right? So as far as your career is concerned, like if you want to make a career, there are hundreds of jobs or hundreds of job profiles, hundreds of working which is available in today's media. But then you have to be well versed with the technology. You have to be well versed with the technology. In the sense, if I can give you some latest examples, like if you are good in digital, then most of the television channels, I'm telling you, or almost all the news channels. Now, when we say television, what picture comes to our mind? That there will be a reporter who will be covering something, who will be giving a piece to camera, there will be a camera person, and then the editing will be done, news packaging will be done. But no, if today, for instance, somebody approaches a television for a job, the television channel might not be offering a job on the television side, but he may be offered a job on the digital side. So if you today join ZTV, you may be asked to work on the website of the television channel. So there is no television there. You are working on the website of the television, right? Or any television channel, any newspaper, they have their social media wing. So if you're good in digital, you understand the social media. So in that case, you can be put on the social media site, wherein your job will be to take care of your channel, of your newspaper on the social media. So you have to make sure कि जो भी नए packages बने हैं वो Facebook पे चले जाएं, Twitter पे चले जाएं, and then also whatever latest tweets are being made by eminent persons, by politicians and all, you have to track those tweets, and then you have to find where there is some news element into that. You have to note it down, and then you have to take it to take it forward to your seniors, and then based on those tweets, there will be a news package prepared which will be on air on the television channel. Now there is so much blending of text, of audio, of video, of internet. There is such a blend that you have to have that. तो अब आपको ठीक है, media has always been like that, wherein you, if you know more things, obviously that is to your benefit, but then you need not to specialize in one thing. You know about everything. You need to know how to write a report. You need to know how to capture the video. You need to know how to record the audio. You need to know how the digital media works. You need to know as to how the social media works, right? But then after that, you can concentrate on a particular kind of job depending on your interest area, depending on your priorities, depending on your decision about your career, and depending on the job market. You might be interested in something else, but there might be no job in that area, because that shift keeps on happening. Like if today you are searching a job in a television channel, it's too difficult to get. But if you are open to digital, you will get a job for certain, either in that television channel or in a radio channel or in a newspaper, right? So that is how the availability of job is there. But then if I tell you what are the essential things that you need to know if you want to enter in the media, whatever kind of job, I mean, you might be, yeah, or I think it might be too early to decide that if you join the media, and if you join the media, what kind of job profile you might be looking for. But there are few important tips which I can give you at this point only. If you people are interested in media, then you have to have certain traits. If you don't have, then you have enough time to prepare yourself for that. One, you must have a reading habit. Whether you want to join the television, whether you want to join the films, whichever medium you want to work with, even if you want to become a camera person, even if you want to become an editor, video editor, but then you must have a habit, you must develop a habit of reading. That is an essential thing. That's the first and the foremost, right? Secondly, what will you read? That's difficult to decide. So the only thing that I can suggest at this point of time, read whatever comes to your head, right? You can read novels that will enrich your language, that will enrich your expression. Read novels, you can read the autobiographies, the biographies, you can, I mean, light reading material you can read the newspapers, or, but reading, when I say reading, then obviously you can read on the Kindle, and I mean, there are so many digital platforms are available, but whichever platforms you are using, you must develop a habit of reading. Reading is one. Two, you must develop a habit of writing. Writing, I must clarify this, that writing is such a thing which you cannot evade, whichever medium you are working, and with whatever job profile you are. Normally, people believe that if you are in print media, that you need to write, but it is a misconception. If you are working in radio, there also you need to write. If you are working, because in radio also you might be writing different scripts, you might be writing a radio drama, you might be writing a radio jingle, you might be writing a radio talk. So lot of, I mean, writing has to be there. And if you are working in the on the television side, like if I take the example of news, the most important job in a television channel is that wherein somebody is writing in any, take example of any news package. If you understand this, and you, after my lecture, you can go to the Google and you can watch any news bulletin, any news package. What will you find? There is something which is being said by the news anchor. That's a piece which would have been written by somebody who is working in the output department of that news channel. तो एंकर वाला पीस भी लिखा हुआ होगा, तो somebody is writing that. And then जो वॉइस ओवर है, वॉइस ओवर इज when the video is seen on the screen, there is a voice from behind. That's a voiceover. So voiceover is to be written. Now all these things are written. So somebody has to write. So somebody has a writing capability will get a job easily in a television channel. Normally people believe that in a television channel, writing will be not of that importance, and only in a newspaper the writing will be important, which is not the case, right? Similarly, if we talk about the films, in films also nowadays, I mean, the way the films have changed. Earlier, they are used to be the producers important, or the directors important, and the story writer or the script writer or the screenplay writer. They were not given that much importance, but the way for the last 10 to 20 years, the way the scenario has changed. One who can write is considered the most important person in the film industry. And nowadays, there is a practice that most of the directors write their own script, right? So there also writing is very important. So I told you two things. One, that you must develop a habit of reading. You must develop a habit of writing. Now, besides the direct application of reading and writing, direct application I explained you already in different media platforms. In digital also writing is very important, in fact, because digital writing is a bit difficult in the sense that you have to write all essential things, all important things in the minimum possible space. Though is though the whole of the media is always facing two constraints, the space constraint and the time constraint. सारे मीडिया में ये दो constraints हैं हमेशा. Newspaper को for instance, if there is a 12-page newspaper, so in a 12-page newspaper you cannot put stories which would have been accommodated in 16 pages. So either you have to drop certain stories or you have to reduce the length of certain stories. Within that space you have to write. So space constraint is there. Television also, if there's a 30-minute bulletin, so it has to be finished in 30 minutes. It cannot be 35 minutes. So you have a time constraint. Similarly, in digital media, there is a space constraint. But that space constraint has to be understood differently, in the sense that ample space is available as compared to a newspaper. There is more space available on digital as compared to television. There is more space available on digital, but you have to utilize that space very judiciously, wherein any news item or any piece that you are writing has to be in 50 words or 60 words or 70 words. You can write 100 words. The space is there, but then nobody will read. So this means the making your expression, writing your story in the minimum possible words is a challenge of the digital media. So all these are the challenges. So you have to, so I told you about the direct application of the reading and writing. But there is an indirect application if you are in a habit of reading, if you are in a habit of writing, and that is that as you read, as you write, this leads to your intellectual growth, right? If you are into reading and writing on a regular basis, this will lead to your intellectual growth, which is an essential thing for working in media. Any job in the media industry is for knowledgeable people. Whether you are working as editor in any capacity you are working, even if you are working down in the lower levels, you have to be a very knowledgeable person. Going by my experience, I can tell you in my journalism career, when I was working with the newspapers, I have found that most of the class 4 staff working in a newsroom, they were so well versed with international, national, and international affairs, which any journalist working in the newsroom would have been. So, newspaper industry is all about knowledge. It's a knowledge industry, and in a knowledge industry, you are in the business of information dissemination, leading to the knowledge of your receivers, right? In the media industry, you are anybody who is working in any capacity, you are in the business of disseminating information, providing information to your readers, to your viewers, to your listeners, which is leading to their understanding and knowledge. So you are in that industry wherein you are helping others to be informed, to be educated, to be knowledgeable. So if you're into that industry, so the primary condition is that you have to be knowledgeable. If you're not knowledgeable, what will you provide to your receivers? So reading and writing will help you in that. And another thing which is in a way linked to whatever I told you, but then another thing is that you must be an inquisitive person. Means you have to be a person who is always eager to know more and more and more. That quest for knowing new things will make you a successful media person. If you do not have that kind of trait, and if you feel you cannot develop that kind of trait, then obviously you cannot sustain. Nobody can sustain media. There are a lot of people who join media without having these traits, so they remain static in their career. And those who have all those traits which I explained you just now, they can reach to any level in the minimum possible time. It's not that you choose a career, but it is also important when you choose a career, you need to think where you will be after 5 years, where you will be after 10 years, where you will be after 15 years. So any career choice should be made in the light of this, as I explained, if I put again in the context, that what are your interest areas, what are your priorities, what actually you want to do in your life, in your career, and then where all those things can be utilized. If that can be on media, then which media. And then obviously you have to be very clear that in the career graph, how your growth will be in the coming years. So if you do not have these traits or somehow you land in media, then it will be difficult to grow. So, I mean, if you are in the school at this level, so you have enough time to prepare yourself before you join the graduation in journalism and mass communication. And you can, I mean, anybody can join any type of graduation, BA, BCom, BSc, or within the BA, I mean, which right from English honors to history honors. But then if you join a very focused program, which is on journalism and mass communication, then before you enter the industry after your graduation, you will know everything, like the kind of the journalism and mass communication, this bachelor's program which is offered by DME, which has been designed by Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University. Within 3 years, you will be taught everything. You will be taught radio, you will be taught television, you will be taught digital, you will be taught films, you will be taught journalism, you will be taught advertising, you will be taught public relations, the event management, the digital media marketing. So I mean, 35, 40 different subjects you will be studying. So you will be exposed to all branches of media, and you will have enough time during 3 years to decide as to what all interest you. And interest might be shifting from first year to second year to third year, but at the end of the course, at the end of this academic program, you might be in a position to decide where your heart lies and where, which is your actually the interest area, and where you want to make a career. Even after joining the industry, you can make a career, you can make a shift in the career, but that's a later stage. That time nobody need to guide you. You can take your own call, because whenever television came, all print journalists joined the television and they became the television journalists. And many of my friends I know from, I mean, remaining the television journalism, they shifted to digital. Number of television journalists, they shifted to filmmaking. So in all your career, as you grow, then obviously all those things will keep on happening. And the most important thing about media, I think, because I have been speaking too long, but then I was supposed to tell you the basic things about media, so that you understand what media is, and before making a choice, you understand what media is actually. But then one most important thing I must tell you in the last, that what is the most most interesting aspect of media, most essential aspect of media. I mean, I'm telling you this, if you opt for a career in media, media is a world which is changing, which keep changing all the time. Nothing is static. It's a very dynamic field, very, very dynamic field, right? There are, every day there are challenges. Every hour there are challenges. Every minute there are challenges. अभी बुलेटिन जा रहा है, 8 बजे आपका बुलेटिन शुरू हुआ, 8:10 पे there is a terrorist strike. And the newsroom people have to know immediately. तो 8:10 पे हुआ, 8:11 पे उन्हें पता लगा, 8:12 पे उन्होंने स्टोरी बनाई, 8:13 पे, 8:15 तक आपके पास हो गई. तो आपका जो रेगुलर न्यूज बुलेटिन है उसके बीच में डालनी है स्टोरी. Everything will get disturbed, but you have to adjust with that. The news cannot be stopped. So it's a very interesting, it's a very lively thing, very, very lively, very dynamic. So those who love challenges, those who can take risks, those who are always prepared to do that job, and those who do not want to confine themselves within four walls of the office, those who do not want to confine themselves on a regular 10 to 5 jobs. Media is for those people. If you enjoy doing that, if you feel happy doing that, then media is of that kind. I mean, this example I gave you from news, same kind of example I can give you from the entertainment side in films also. आपकी 8 घंटे की शिफ्ट, आप ये असिस्टेंट डायरेक्टर भी हैं, वो 2 घंटा एक्सटेंड हो गया शूट, तो यू हैव टू बियर विद दैट. ये नहीं कि वक्त तो मेरी नौकरी खत्म हो गई, शिफ्ट खत्म हो गई. सो दैट काइंड ऑफ टेम्परामेंट डज नॉट वर्क इन मीडिया. एंड समटाइम्स यू माइट बी डूइंग 2 शिफ्ट्स, 8-8 16 घंटे काम कर रहे होंगे आप. And this does not apply to the people who are in the crew. This also applies to the people who are working in the director's department, who are working in the camera department, who are working as actors. एक्टर भी 16-16 घंटे काम करना पड़ता है. यू कैन नॉट से कि मैं तो सेलिब्रिटी हूँ, बहुत बड़ा एक्टर हूँ, मैं तो अब नहीं करूंगा काम. द नेक्स्ट डे यू विल बी थ्रोन आउट ऑफ जॉब. फिर तुम्हें कोई अपने को साइन नहीं करेगा एज एक्टर अपने अगले प्रोडक्शन. सो इट्स अ टैक्सिंग दैट वे. It's a taxing profession, whatever you are doing. So mentally you should be ready for all this. And if you feel that you are made for all this, or you are that kind of a person, then obviously there can be no better profession in the world than working in the media industry. So Shalini ma'am, should I stop? I think.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for such a enthralling session. I think we can open for Q&A. Rimsi ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir, for enlightening us. It will really help the students to choose the right path for their career and achieve their goals. So students, now this is the time to ask questions. If you have any question, then please write down your question in the chat box, or we can unmute you and you can ask the question to the sir. Please write down your questions in the chat box.
Chat has been enabled now after the session, so you can write it down. Earlier it was disabled.
We can unmute you if you want to say something.
Yes.
Yeah, there are, I mean, less number of people, so obviously they can speak on the screen only.
Yes, dear students, it's your turn now. Please ask if there is any doubt.
Anyone has any questions, students?
या तो सबको सब समझ में आ गया है या कुछ नहीं समझ में आया.
If nobody is asking a question, I have a question.
Yeah.
I would like to ask, like, many a times we associate media with all the glamour. although you have dissected it very brutally, I must say, but still, many of the people who wanted to join media, it is all because of the glamour jo upar jo dikhta hai, right? So how to tackle it? How to go about it? Is it true? I mean, is it real? Is it for real, or it's all the hard work like you have put in?
There is no glamour.
There is no glamour at all.
It's a very hard profession. Anything, right from news to entertainment, it's very hard, very tough, but interesting. The most important, I mean, the people like me or in my generation, in the new generation also, we came out of interest, not for a career. I mean, after 30, 40 years, now people have started looking as a career. But earlier, nobody was coming. I mean, a person like me came only because of my interest in reading and writing and reaching out to the people. And obviously, doing something good for the society. That's also there. I missed telling that. I mean, I mean, it's not that you're making a career, you're doing something good to the society. Like if you take the example as to what happened during COVID-19. If I don't remember exactly the number, but hundreds of journalists have died
Yes.
while reporting for COVID. So that way, it is an essential profession. It's a service industry from this perspective. Like, I mean, no comparison can be done with the doctors, the people who are in the medical profession or in police. But then, the way the saving a life is important, the same way providing information to the people is equally important, and the right kind of information, the information which is beneficial to the people, which is updating you and about anything. Like if there is no news, if there are no news channel, newspapers, people will never come to know कि second wave आ गई, उनको ये भी नहीं पता लगेगा कि लोगों को घर में रहना है. I mean, and then what kind of precautions so keeping the people informed. And I mean, the journalists who are in this profession, who are keeping the people informed, they are risking their life while doing this job. ठीक है, ये तो लेटेस्ट कॉन्टेक्स्ट में, बट अदरवाइज ऑल्सो अगर आप इंटरनेशनल फिगर्स देखिए, अभी मेरे पास स्टैटिस्टिक्स नहीं है, सो आई कैन नॉट टेल यू दैट, बट देन इफ यू लुक एट द डेटा, द जर्नलिस्ट डाई while covering conflicts, while covering wars, that is in thousands, in hundreds, sorry, in hundreds. So it's a risky profession that way. But then within the media, you can opt for a job which is not that risky. You work in the newspaper, newsroom. So obviously that kind of risk is not involved. But then there are people who love this. Yes. And that is why they are there. There are people who always want challenges in life. So if you want challenges in life, this is a profession for you. Or who want to do something which is not very conventional, which is not 9 to 5 job. There are a lot of people, young people, who 9 to 5 nahi karna chahte. So it's but then there's no glamour, not at all. It's
Sir,
hard.
I must add the risk which you have spoken about, the risk of getting slapped with sedition charges in our country. So that is also
all kind.
Yeah.
If you're writing any such thing which is not liked by the people in power, then obviously you have to be ready to suffer.
Yes.
And all journalists 300 years से लेके अभी तक always they have suffered because of that. लेकिन चलिए वो बहुत बड़ी चीज है.
Right.
वो अभी I mean as a career जब आप ले रहे हैं, खास तौर से young लोगों के लिए, वो तो करीब जब वो profession में 5 साल 10 साल 15 साल होंगे, then those kind of problems will surface. And by that time, anybody who had joined the media industry would have matured enough to handle those things.
Absolutely. Yes.
So abhi at this stage, all this is not, I mean, not necessary to think about. That is why I did not take up any such thing.
Right, sir. Right, sir. So, any other questions, students, or should we close the session? Any other questions? Anyone want to ask? You can unmute yourself. You can write it in the chat box. Okay, I think we don't have any questions, sir. I would like to thank you for such an enthralling session. I really enjoyed it because I'm not from the media background. So, you know, the difference between the content creation and, you know, content distribution, the importance of technology, difference between digital media, social media, all these have, you know, the terms which is being generally used in media. I think it has enlightened us. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. I know you are keeping so busy with all the latest admissions and everything happening, but thank you so much for giving us the time. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Sunita ma'am, who is always you know, supporting us with all the webinars and all that we are conducting in her school. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would also like to thank Director Sir, Ravikant Swami Sir, who is instrumental in encouraging us to conduct these webinars. All the students who have attended, thank you so much. I know it's Saturday, but thank you for attending the important aspect of your career. And last but not the least, thank you, the outreach team, Veda Priya ma'am, who is at the back end, and Rimsi ma'am, who's at the front end, to make this webinar possible. Thank you so much. Thank you all of you.